new level, new devil at different stages in your business. There's going to be some
new level, new
devil. It's a good one. There are going to be new challenges that arise, and sometimes it's just that old, pattern that you've already dealt with is showing back up again to be met in order for you to navigate a new level of that in order to get to that next point.
Hello and welcome to Truth on a Pedestal, a podcast solely dedicated to talking about how businesses are started and how brands are built. I'm Justine Malone, creative director and founder at Malone Co Studio, and your host for Truth on a Pedestal. Today I have invited Mira onto our podcast because I feel she has so much to offer for business owners. Far too often we think that it's really easy to start a business and we start it and it's all fun and games, but there's so much more behind being a business owner that people don't talk about. I'm going to let Mira introduce herself and what she does. And in this podcast, we are going to dive deeper into how to look after yourself as a founder and a business owner, how to create a business that you align with so that it's actually easier to step into that phase in your life. So welcome. Thank you for your time. We were just talking about how valuable time is. So really appreciate it.
Very precious. Yeah. No, this is at the essence of where I love to invest my time. So thanks for the opportunity. And I guess this is a really beautiful way to introduce myself, Mira Claudia. At my heart, I'm a connection creator and a storyteller. And then my other professional hat is mindset business coach. And they're words that we hear a lot. And so I know we'll get into kind of what they mean to me and how they translate in my work today. But the essence of it is recognizing that when we shift from being an employee into running our business, no matter how that happens, there's a whole up-leveling that is required. And the mindset of an employee is different to the mindset of running a business, which is different to the mindset of running multiple businesses. And at every stage of the journey, we come up against inner challenges, external challenges. And so, mindset is such a core piece that for me is a constant work in progress when it comes to running our own businesses and often for people, it's bringing something that is so close to your heart out into the world. And that takes a lot of courage and being quite brave. So,
and you say the word mindset a lot. I know that you said there's a lot of words that are thrown around to the point that they lose their meaning.
Yeah.
And some people would say mindset is let's just think positive or let's manifest, but it's not. I feel like I wish there was a different word now for mindset to bring out the authenticity, like what it really means. So.
Yeah. And, depending on who works with mindset or, who talks about it, they're coming into that conversation based on their experiences. So my version of, mindset work when I started, even well before I had a business, has evolved significantly to what it is today. And the practices that I do or the modality or the training that I've done has continued to evolve. So at the moment, it wholeheartedly is like this big umbrella that a lot of things sit in. And I think a lot of people understand, we've got growth mindset or limited mindset. So I would love a different phrase and maybe we'll come up with it today. But, if we think about it, as an umbrella, and then ultimately under, the umbrella of mindset is how we think, how we behave, how we operate. So inherently there is a nod there that it's also linked to our body and our nervous system. Yeah. And that's probably the bigger, more evolutionary piece of work that I work on a lot more with people under the guise of mindset.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you said that a lot of your work, to me, before this podcast, is about alignment.
Yes.
What does living in alignment to you look like?
Mm-hmm. So alignment is feeling like it's interesting. I just said feeling because it's definitely a feeling, right? When something is out of alignment, we've got maybe a feeling of tension or tightness or even anxiousness. And it's highlighting that there's something within our world that doesn't feel congruent, that isn't in alignment to our values or what's important to us. So a really good example is if I have a very high value around communication and collaboration. So if I'm in the context of a relationship or someone I'm working with, that the communication isn't as fluid or open as what I preference it to be or as I value it, or someone doesn't make as much of an effort in communication, then that can feel like it doesn't feel good to me, or it doesn't feel like it flows. And so that's an example of something not feeling in alignment. So that's an example of when something outside of us doesn't feel in alignment. But for the most part, alignment really is about what is true for us.
Okay. So if you even go through a part in your day and you get that, like, oh, that was so frustrating. Like something happened to me the other day. And I was thinking, something's not good here. Something's not clicking.
Yeah.
Because this is happening over and over again. Like, what do I need to shift? Like, am I pushing too hard here? And I think as business owners, even starting a business, you hit those alignment issues because does your life align with what you're trying to do as a business?
Yeah. So a great example, and this is more of maybe the inner focus, is for many of the women that I work with, we are mums as well as starting a business, growing a business, and or we're caring for other people. And so family is going to be quite a high value. And often a lot of the typical kind of ways of operating business are not really in alignment, or they come in conflict with one of those core values. So that might not be consciously present for us a lot of the time, but if we look deeper when someone's feeling like business is hard or they're feeling more anxious or they're feeling pulled, it's often because there's a behavior or something within the context of way they're operating a business that is not actually honoring something that's deeply important.
Yeah.
And it doesn't become about I sacrifice one for the other, because that's how it can feel like. It's actually about working out, okay, well, how can I redesign my business or my career and family so that both things can be equally met. And in some instances, when someone really understands this piece, their values, it actually can help them take the pressure off the fact that they will always value family and family will come first. And that won't be everyone's story, but I'm just thinking about a client I worked for. And it was almost like when she got awareness around this, we did a values exercise and family was number one. Yeah. It's almost like she exhaled and gave herself permission that even if she was unaware, her behavior would always reflect that. Now, when she's aware of it, she can choose that wholeheartedly and go, right, well, yes, that's true. Family is the most important thing for me. And I love my business and I love what I do, but that will be designed around this.
And it almost gives her the permission to let go of what the expectation of being a successful business owner is.
Yeah.
It's like, that's not what, like, whatever that level is, that might be different. And it gives her own level of success.
Correct. And there's a key thing there, just I want to articulate, that she gets to then determine what success looks like for her based on that. And the opposite outside of that scenario was she was a part of, the networking group that I run. And, we're consumed about seeing all these other people on social media, maybe in similar businesses, and we're seeing their success. And so we're judging ourselves constantly on that. It's so insidious in the way of how much that happens without us realizing.
Yeah.
So again, it was like that all becomes white noise that she doesn't then focus on because she has the truth of what's important to her. And family was it. And so the business then gets to be designed based on that.
Yeah.
And when she chooses family on school holidays over continuing to drive and grow, that there's peace around that for her.
And it means that maybe she doesn't earn as much as she thought she would. And so on school holidays, fine, they're not going away on school holidays, but she's able to have a calm school holidays with her family rather than hustling and the after school care or daycare, like just trying to figure it all out and feeling like it's failing in both.
Yeah. However, I want our audience particularly to hear this, because this is something another woman asked me, she's saying, well, Mira, if that's the case, does that mean I have to just accept they won't earn as much money? And what I would say to that is that's this model where we say, where we're still in this view that it has to be one or the other, right? Whereas in my work, there's actually the possibility for both. And yes, maybe on the school holidays specifically, there's not as much activity in the business that doesn't drive the business. But if we're able to have the space that we need in order to make really clear, aligned actions, we can actually still have incredible flow of abundance that doesn't just come through force and the tension. Because the opposite of what we're talking about is her constantly feeling in conflict and tension, pulled between the two. And in that state, we don't make great decisions. We don't have flow. The scarcity energetic in us is felt energetically by our customers. So we stop the flow of abundance.
Yeah.
So
The
actually,
flow kept coming to me as you're talking. I was like, because you're not able to, if you're in a conflict, you're not able to be present in that moment. You're not able to be for her, present with her family,
correct,
present at work.
Yeah.
And it's that conflict of basically putting blocks in your life every day.
Yeah. And so if we're going to work constantly feeling that push-pull between this thing that we haven't quite realized why, we're not as effective in our time. Yeah. We can be, I'm sure we've all experienced this. If we have a rest, we take a break and we come back and we're like, can punch out hours of effective work versus if we just push through. And I will say that even personally, I still rumble with this.
Yeah. It's never perfect. There's never this right, I've got it. I'm sweet now. I don't need change. It's like a baby. I always explain business like a baby. They change every couple of months. The minute you're like, sweet, have the sleeping pattern down, get what they're eating, the minute you nail it, it changes. And so it's about being okay with that and going with the flow and just constantly balancing it through, being aware of yourself. And then, the alignment, when you have those funny little, those niggling feelings, go into your alignment.
Yeah, and when that's occurring, having the tools and resources to know what to do in those moments, as opposed to overriding what your body and behavior is showing you that isn't working for you at the moment, right?
Yeah.
So I love you talked about, this baby that keeps growing. A client that I've worked for, over 3 years now, just in the last couple of weeks, we've redone her values.
Yeah.
We've revisited, because when we first started working together, the business was totally different. She was at a totally different space, and there was some that were similar then that there are now, but there was some that were higher up in terms of hierarchy today. I say today, in the last little while, because of that evolution, because she's grown, the business has grown, and
her life has changed.
Her life, absolutely, there's been changes, exactly. And so, again, this comes back to what I said at the start, that mindset in business for me, they have to be constantly,
looked at.
Yeah. It's, as human beings, we're always growing and evolving. So, that one thing around recognizing and really owning that and acknowledging actually what's important to me now is maybe what's different to what was previously. But again, if we keep working with that, bringing awareness to, in this instance, we're talking about values as an example, but then we can continue to evolve and have our life and business evolve with us.
The ever-evolving.
Yeah.
Balance.
Yeah.
If we talk about life and how it evolves, you came to where you are in business because of your life and it evolved. Can you step me back into where you came from?
Yeah.
Even a bit of your childhood and the challenges you faced?
For sure. So it's interesting, I wonder now, chicken or the egg scenario, right?
Yeah.
You always kind of go, oh, which one first? But the reality of my upbringing is, there was only one person in our family that ran businesses, which was my grandfather. And I just thought of this recently that, I really thought I was coming from a model where I didn't know anyone that had run businesses. And so the idea of me starting my own business was completely unrealistic. Like, to me, it just wasn't even a possibility a number of years ago. But what was in addition to that was, my childhood was a really high conflict environment. I had 8 years of just my mum and I. So for the first 8 years, I'm a single child, with a single parent. And then my mum ended up in a very violent relationship. And so what that then meant was there's a significant portion of, my 8 to teen years where we weren't safe and every aspect of life wasn't safe. So mentally, emotionally, financially, what we now know and speak about and have a lot more awareness around, like every aspect of family and domestic violence my family experienced. And whilst it was 3.5 years that my mum was in that relationship, it created a lifelong of impact across everyone involved. So I have 3 siblings. My mum had 3 other children in that relationship. And, so the blessing out of that is that we got a full family.
Yeah.
But each one of my siblings have had different impacts. So in a nutshell, you've got a person that didn't know she had post-traumatic stress disorder until her 30s, that didn't know she had anxiety, until her mid-30s.
Because you didn't know the difference and you thought that's how
correct.
you feel.
I created operating systems, which is what happens when we're in environments that aren't safe. Our body is incredibly adept at creating ways of operating so you can still feel safe. And so for me, one of those things was being in control. What can I control in my life and keep control of that creates this, safety. And so the idea of starting my own business as a single parent, because I divorced in 2017, I'm skipping up a few years, was just ridiculous to me.
Yeah.
Absolutely ridiculous.
And that was off the back of, because I know personally about you, so that was off the back of a relationship that also wasn't great.
Well, yeah, on the outside, the relationship was great. But, if I look inward, we had me with all this unconscious awareness of the impact of my childhood. Yeah. So incredibly scarce, money relationships, like money and stability were my utmost important. Also completely unaware that I was operating in anxious patterns a lot.
So you end up getting into other things in your life.
Yeah.
That your body is like, oh, I'm used to this scenario, because that's where my operations work. So you get into those scenarios again.
Yeah, I think in terms of the relationship, we were both young. We had a business together, but I don't think I really fully trusted the idea of business, because again, it was risky. So all of my anxious patterns came up. I mean, we had our children, and as anyone that's had children knows, that brings your stuff up.
Oh, yeah. That's like, let's test this relationship.
Yeah, it does. So I just...
your inner self, all those people and the tiny traumas at the tip of your pinky toe just come on up.
Correct. Yeah. And it wouldn't be until after my separation that, because that was so incredibly challenging, it was absolutely my worst nightmare. I'd grown up as a single parent family, and I did not want that for my children. So one of the things that was a huge amount of grief around was that part. But what that brought to the surface was really realizing how much the impact of my childhood had had on me as an adult. And in a nutshell, all the coping strategies that I created were like these, bits of armor or, walls. And, along that way, I really realized that I was just trying to be accepted and fit in and, fill the roles that I was falling into. So the biggest piece was not just, the anxiousness and the post-traumatic stress disorder, but realizing how much to cope in the world, had separated an identity out, and I really didn't know who I was.
Yeah.
On the inside, or I sensed that I wasn't maybe as happy as I thought I could be, or life felt hard. Like, and if we look back and come back to this conversation around alignment, there were a lot of things that weren't in alignment.
Yeah.
And I also didn't have that knowledge or language to know, right? And you've also, second to that, you're, as many of us do when we come into partnership and we come into motherhood and, you know, being a daughter-in-law and a daughter, you just kind of are going about life going, oh, cool, that's who I am to that person and that's who I am to this person, rather than this idea of, well, who am I?
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, and now today, the version of Mira that, you know, sits here with you, I see nuggets of her throughout that whole time, but it's
just peeping her head out.
Like,
Hey,
like,
here I am.
And all the gifts and things that I bring to the world now, and you know, my friendships and relationships, it all existed. It was just like hidden or like in the background because of how I thought I needed to operate, either to be safe or just to, you know, operate in the world. And so we've just gone on a really long journey there. But if we come back to this idea of, you know, the business, all of that had to come up in order for me to even entertain the idea of starting a business. And even, you know, when the idea landed for my first business offering, I was completely on board, but I was like, wow, is this happening?
First business offering.
So,
first, what was the, you know, you're in a space. What was the first piece of work you did on yourself?
Yeah.
The first person or the first course or the first podcast? Like, what was that first tiny turning point?
Mm-hmm. It's going to sound really abstract, but it was actually a podcast.
Yeah.
So, or a meditation. I'm just trying to think of which one was it. So, the first 6 months of separation was incredibly challenging. I happened to go on a retreat, and I'd been one of those people that always wanted to be a little bit in the woo-woo space, but we didn't call it woo-woo back then, right?
The hippie space.
The hippie space.
We're like, I'm a hippie,
but totally was like, had this thing that I don't belong. I don't have any connection to this thing that they call spirit, or, you know, whatever the language is. And I was like, I want to be able to meditate. I feel like that would be really good for me. But, you know, like that person, like, I can't meditate. My head's too busy.
You're like, we're the same person.
Yeah.
Now, I was like, oh, I'm going to meditate.
Yeah.
Nothing's happening. Why isn't anything happening?
Yeah.
It's like, okay, that's fine.
So that was like pre-divorce.
Yeah.
So within the first 12 months, through absolute desperation and requirement, I could not avoid those things anymore.
Yeah.
Like, I couldn't give myself the excuses of I can't do it, because in order to cope, in order for me, was like, I feel so incredibly broken by this. And I have 2 young children, one 7 and one 2. And if I don't get my shit together, so to speak, like if I don't figure this out, this is the impact that I don't want.
Yeah.
So there was a podcast episode which just went down this line of masculine and feminine. It was like not like healing at all, but it just kind of opened my eyes to something else.
Open.
Yes.
To the other world.
And there was a meditation series by a woman called Sarah Blondin. And when you would listen to Sarah, it just felt like this woman was picking you up and holding you.
Yeah.
And I remember listening to those daily religiously as my 2-year-old would have a sleep. Like, and I just would cry. And it was, you know, just words that you're like, I think I've needed to hear this 100 times before. I'm just going to keep listening and hearing. And, you know, I can't even remember the themes necessarily, but there would be themes that we all know about.
Yeah.
But it was that meditation that became a absolute non-negotiable. And then my meditation practice became a non-negotiable, and my morning practice became a non-negotiable, to the point I would hold it rigidly.
Yeah.
But it was, if this doesn't happen for me, then my day doesn't work and I can't cope as a parent. So it was a little bit still control-y, right?
Yeah.
There was still some anxious patterning showing up there. But it was the one thing, and meditation became then who could I listen to and who else could I work with? Or so there's, work with psychologists at different times, coaches. I've had an incredible group of coaches over the years, each one of them bringing me something different. But there's a through line with every single one of them, and every single one of them work on mindset and somatic.
Yeah.
So, it became around practices, daily commitments to self. And through that was this, starting to have a relationship with myself and what is truly important to me.
And understand yourself, your moods, your why things are happening.
Yeah.
And your reactions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, as much without needing to go into the reason their marriage ended, I could totally see that my way of operating, the protective mechanisms, the anxious patterns, in a way had contributed to that relationship not working. And so I was really committed to go, well, right, I don't want to repeat that, as many of us do. But really fundamentally it was about, okay, that type of being, that phase of life was that, and how can I make the most going forward, and what can really support me. And I think in just summary, it was a dedication to learn so much about myself and devote time regularly to that, to be well, to feel well, to live well, and to live on my terms.
Yeah.
Because so much had, whether it was my behaviours or other circumstances, had really been more leading my life in a way than me leading it.
And we became aware of how that was negatively impacting your life. Like, not many people own up to their own shit.
Oh yeah, I do.
And they just blame, and they're like, it was them, and the blame and they shame. But once you look back at yourself and your actions, and you can own up to be like, this was my piece.
Yeah.
Of like, it takes two to tango. This was my piece. I'm owning that. The minute you own it, you can clean it up, and then you can put processes in place to not let it happen again. So I mean, that's just, once you know, like, you can't undo that. All right, so you've come to the end of your marriage. You open, I like it. It's like you open Pandora's box to self-healing, to
It's a really good way to put it. Yeah.
Like, I mean, I went through it years ago as well. Yeah. Like, you kind of crack the door, and you can never. I see it as like a little door when I first saw it. And I saw these like flowers. There's like this field of flowers when I was in a deep meditation. And I had to like walk all the way up these stairs, and then I'm going off top paper. Yeah. And I saw these flowers, but I wasn't able to go through it in my meditation. Like, I was like, no, I'm not ready. But then once I've seen that field of flowers, I'm like, what more is there? So open this Pandora's box to get like the morning ritual meditation, like on the bigger scheme of things, like, now, like, that's just a tiny part of it.
Yeah.
But once you feel that, oh my God, I'm starting to open up, I'm starting to look deep, I'm starting to heal, I'm starting to shift. We had that, you had the divorce. Now, where is your business? Like, take out a bit of a timeline of your business.
For sure. So I love the Pandora's box analogy, by the way. I think that's a really good way to put it. And the Pandora's box can look really dark at times. So it's not just like the flowers. It can be really dark. I talk about the messy middle, like when you are really coming in and facing off with some stuff of your own and realizing how much you've created your reality through your patterns and, whatever else. It can be a bit messy in there.
There's a lot to unpack.
There is.
So much.
Yeah.
People don't even realize.
Depending on when you open the box. I mean, if you're opening it, your box in 20s, maybe not as much, but I was opening it mid-30s. So.
But even like, I had a very basic standard childhood, from what I think. And even when I started opening Pandora's box, like, there's stuff there that wouldn't be classified as trauma.
Yeah.
But it was like a principal saying something to me, and that stuck with me. My whole life developed from this like seed into this big snowball in my head, and actually like affected me. I was like, what he said, if I went back to that, people were like, really? I was like, as a child, that meant so much to me.
Correct.
As a 7-year-old.
Yeah.
It wasn't traumatic, but Pandora's box has weird stuff in it.
It does.
Yeah.
So Separated in 2017, 12 to 18 months of, really just moving through a lot of that. Spent some time back with my family through that as well. And while I was there, I'd taken a break from my career. So
what were you doing?
So I was in alternative dispute resolution, and also about to move into quality assurance / people training development. So my career was, about to shift, but naturally back to things that I'd already done in previous roles. But I took a big leap to study, of all things, interior design while I took my gap year. My gap year, in my mid-30s.
Life crisis.
Life crisis, gap year. And it was through, so I'd always thought about maybe, I wanted to be an interior designer. And the context here is, even in my mid-30s, I was like, I haven't found my purpose. Like, what is it for me, the thing that I really love? And I was really good at my job and I did it well, but it wasn't.
Yeah. It's just a job.
Something missing, right? And so, okay, I've been talking about doing interior design. I've got a gap year. I'm going to go and do it. And I loved it and I'm pretty good at it, but I don't love a certain part of the job. I'm really good and love unpacking the problem.
Yeah.
Like, tell me what your problem is with the kitchen as to why you even want to redesign it, Yeah. And so I noticed how much that was my strength zone and what I love to do. And I ended up exploring Gallup Clifton Strengths, which is a assessment you can do online. It's a tool I use with most of my clients now because it gives you clear as day, again, information like our values that helps you then really understand why things work for you and why some things don't.
That's interesting.
So the finicky details of post-design brief and actually, doing the drawings or going and sourcing materials, I got bored at that point.
Yeah.
What I loved was the engagement with the client. What I loved was understanding their problem, asking lots of questions.
Yeah.
So it really revealed the possibility of coaching.
Okay.
Fast forward, come back to my career after my gap break. The company was redesigning that role into a coaching role. So I actually started coaching in corporate. And just like, we talk about universe or everything was conspiring for that to evolve. And so, I'm back in Melbourne. I'm, developing as a coach in corporate, loving it. I'm finding love back in my corporate role, which I wasn't for like the previous 7 years, and doing really well. And then we have COVID. We have the year of 2020. And when you divorce and separate, a lot of your network changes, and I really experienced isolation. And I recognized and felt like this real loss of community and how much community was so important. And through the books I was reading, the podcasts I was listening to, the meditations, I was like, women need this.
Yeah.
So my very, very first offering after one of the most impactful coaching sessions I've ever had was the idea of running a women's circle in my area, because I wanted community and I believed women needed, particularly at that time, a space to come and put all the responsibility down and just be.
Yeah.
So I'd never run circles before. I hadn't even been to one, but I had the idea and the vision and the name and the brand, and everything landed in the space of a week and a half. And it meant that I started going out and connecting with my community, meeting people. And so, that ran for 3 years. I had some amazing collaborations.
And that was called
Her Tribe.
Her Tribe.
Yeah. And then I kept listening and realizing, there's other women doing businesses as
so
well.
It wasn't for business. It was just
no, it was women, full stop.
Because my mum bangs on about it her whole life. We're from South Africa, so she was reverts back to the actual tribes.
Yeah.
And she was like, it is not normal for a woman to be at home with kids alone.
Yes.
Us as humans need the tribe. It's a tribe to bring up kids.
Yeah.
You need the grandparents, you need the friends. And even now, we know this, people are repeating it. Yet we are still at home just us
Yeah.
trying to do this life with kids and work and stuff. So
For sure.
yeah, having that constant tribe, it can't just be like one off or like one friend. It needs to be this, it's like this pull in again to support each other.
Yeah. And look, that first circle, I launched it online on Facebook. I put flyers up around our local cafes and anywhere that would take them.
It was in this area?
In this area.
Eltham,
Concrete. Yeah. And women come to their first circle and go, oh my God, I read your flyer and I saw the word community or tribe. And I was like, I've literally had just been saying to myself, I need new tribe.
Yeah.
Or I feel like I don't have my people. Like, where are my people? And I just think it was the timing of what we had in 2020, because I started in 2021, that a lot of people were feeling what I was feeling for whatever reason, different stages of life. But the absence of community and tribe was really felt in Melbourne particularly. And so it felt incredibly exciting to bring that. And there's no part of me that did not feel aligned to bring that forward. And every single offering that I've provided or, run, that's the key. It needs to feel really alive in me. If it doesn't feel alive, there's something out.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so,
I really love how you keep coming back to that. I think it's something that people in business, new businesses especially, they really feel into that. If you're not finding joy in it, you're not feeling it.
Yeah. Well,
something's not aligning. It might just be a tiny tweak, and then you're still on the same path. It's not saying like this whole business idea is messed. It's like it might just be a 1% shift. Then you're feeling aligned again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the reality is business is hard, right?
Especially in Australia, which is what I'm realizing.
Yeah.
I'm like, why is there so many things to pay for?
Yeah.
It's like, straight up truth on pedestal. It is not easy to be a small business in Australia. It's like they don't want you to be successful.
Yeah.
Like, I don't speak politics or anything, but I'm a small business owner. And I'm just like, are there any more bills I've missed out on? Any more taxes to, make it hard to make a profit? It's crazy. Even hiring people like that, it's not easy. But when you do get it, when you can find that happy ground, that little bit of a lifestyle business, it is very rewarding. So I'm always like, don't give up. It's light.
And, if we tie in, the importance of community, for the women that I had in the community of her tribe, the next evolution was realizing, actually now that I'm kind of running this business, and I was still working, through that time, like I was parenting, working part-time and studying actually through a lot of that time as well. And then, starting this community, growing this community, running these regular women's circles. So for the next few years, that was consistent.
Yeah.
All of those things were happening. And I was realizing the experience of, again, a bit of isolation. Like no one in my family or friends really understood this thing that I was doing and being on social media and, all the rest of it. And that's another common experience that I was hearing, listening, and noting that other women felt the same. And so that's what then led to me to start the networking group. And it was Her Tribe Women in Business to start with, and then it's evolved to the Origin Women Network in partnership with Kath Clark now. But initially it was just, again, I was listening, I was observing, I was going, there's a need here. I need it. Other people need it too.
So what you were hearing is other women in business, needed a business community. And yes, there's a lot of networking groups and stuff, but there's a difference between a networking group and a business community that you genuinely get to know people and support. And it's not about even networking or finding work. It's just about small businesses and don't have a staff, or even if you do have staff, there's no one above you as the founder. So becoming in a founder community with people that you genuinely become friends with makes you, I don't know, it fills some sort of cup, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, there's so many practical levels on which it really supports us in business, but then there's the emotional, spiritual places as well. And for the most part, the point of difference that I really wanted to make was a space that was about collaboration over competition.
Yeah.
And because I genuinely believe that we can have, 5 photographers in the room and there's enough business for everybody. If everyone really owns their unique and what they do really, really well, we can have multiple coaches and it's the same thing. I'm not the coach for everybody, right? And if every, person in their business really harnesses their uniqueness, aligns their business to them and what they truly do well, there's enough business for them. So, there was an element of the community, like you've touched on, but this idea of collaboration over competition, a place where women could be in a small enough group that they get to meet, but big enough and diverse enough that there was enough leverage there to, potentially pick up business.
Yeah.
So my networking events have never been over 80 people because there's something special about, the smaller group. And key, close to where we live.
Yes.
Because a lot of the time these network events or networking groups are not family-friendly hours, early mornings, or they're not necessarily close by. And I really knew that that's what I needed because of the commitments I had and the value I have around family. And turns out there's a lot of women out there that agree.
Yeah, 100%. I think I started when I first ever started my business over 10 years ago. I joined a networking group that had a breakfast in the morning.
Yeah.
I could do it then. It was horrible. You never go back. But then when I had my kids, somebody suggested to go back there. I was like, great, who's going to look after my kids at 6:30?
Yeah.
I'll go to this networking event.
Yeah.
So, school hours, school hour community gatherings.
And something that, has enough structure and commitment that you can absolutely make it, you can leverage it, but not too much that it's a rigid way that you must operate in a certain way, because that goes against the grain of, what I broadly speak about here and what we're touching on, which is to be in alignment and to design our life based on what's truly important to us and therefore our business. We do need to not have a really prescriptive, this is how you must do it. Sure. Yeah. There's absolutely business strategy that is known, tried, tested, works, and we can use it in conjunction with what's also important to us in our life. Because if we go and say, well, it only looks like this is the only way that you can run a successful business, there's going to be a lot of failure through that.
Yeah. All right. So we have definitely covered overall the types of people that are drawn to the Original Women's Network that you've created. As a coach for you, what kind of people are drawn to you and what are some commonalities you see in them as founders?
It's so many different ways I could answer this, but I think there's a couple of common themes, which is a woman that feels like she's been operating in the system and it's just constantly not working for her. Like she's trying to work in the confines of what she sees as how it should operate. And so, what types of patterns or behaviours that are coming up with that is, regularly feeling anxious or patterns of overwhelm, just feeling like she has a level of success and then kind of it drops back. So the business is, started, it's had some legs, but then there's something that just feels like it's in the way from her being able to take the next step.
Maybe capping.
Yeah. And second to that, it's someone that, inherently she knows the importance of looking after herself.
Okay, so it's people that already are on that path.
Inherently, there's a knowing, right? And practically, how do I actually do that in the conjunction of running my own business? There's a gap between like making it a reality. Yeah. So she's got a sense of knowing that when she's on and she's in flow, that business works. And, at times she recognizes that, she really drops in and gets her answers around trusting herself. Things work. But there's a lot of times that isn't happening because of that just being in operating. Yeah. Running at a fast pace, running at, constantly running the business like the ways she sees that it needs to operate. Yeah.
So she goes into flow and then goes back underwater and then comes up for air. She's like, "Whoa, this is awesome!" And then goes back underwater. And she's like, "How do I stop that pattern?" Yeah.
And I balance a lot between practical tools that we can use to implement. Just like if you think right back to the start when we talked about how important a daily practice became for me. Essential, right? So those are the key things. It's like, how can we restructure the business, how we operate in life, to have more alignment, to be more in flow. But then also getting to the core of what's constantly feeling like there's a block. And that's the deep mindset work where we're understanding the patterns of behavior, the beliefs that are unconsciously driving her at times. And, a good example is a woman recently, she had everything there. The website was being built, the service, she knew what she needed, what she wanted to bring. There was collaborations being offered to her, but she just wasn't grabbing it and running with it. So, there was the work that we needed to go through, that on the other side of that, she had full excitement, engagement, she was so fully into the business, and clients just started flowing in.
So what was her block? What did you discover?
Well, at the core of it, without going into her personal story, but at the core of it, it was a pattern and a story and a narrative that she had from when she was about 6 years old.
So always remember, under 10.
Yeah, it is. It's under 7, actually.
Under 7.
Yeah.
Yes, because once you're 7, I don't know if it's for girls as well, but I know for boys, it might be for both.
Yeah.
That is who you are. Like not who you are, but that your like map has been kind of created, and then you spend the rest of your life going, oh shit, let's like rejig that. There's like a real blueprint.
There is a period, so it's 0 to 7 years is the most impactful time where you frame your personality. And our personality can change, right?
Of course.
So, in this case, it was a particular situation that basically determined a belief that she had, which was directly showing up and stopping her in this version of life or this stage of life. And she had some awareness around it, but the link between the two wasn't there.
So you work with people to kind of find these blockages, find these links, and then how do you break them? How do you, what do you do there?
So sometimes it's honestly just awareness.
Realizing what it is.
Correct. Yeah. When someone can see that was a scenario that happened back then, and it kind of made sense that she would create that, but actually it doesn't have any reality in today. It's like a fear, right? Like everyone has fears, but when we actually really look at the fear, when the emotion is processed through the body, cognitively as the adult, or if you think about like your higher self, we'll look at that and go, well, actually that fear isn't real. Yeah. But the body is responding to something of the past, which is making it feel real today. And so that pattern or those scenarios are happening so fast within us that we don't have awareness. So the number one thing is bringing awareness to it.
So to put on like a super simple story, it's as though somebody gets attacked by a dog in their childhood. As an adult, they're scared of dogs, but in reality, the new dog they see at 30, some like little, I don't know, cavoodle, is not the same dog that attacked them.
Correct.
They've just related that fear to. I mean, I know that's. We use that, we've heard that story a lot. But
it's a great example.
The symbol, then it goes deeper down. So it's, for example, that principal telling me, he was like, you can't be on the boys' cricket team. That one thing. And so I carried my whole life until last year I figured it out, actually, is I'll show you I can be on the boys' cricket team. And like infiltrating through my life, all the things that I did. And then once you figure it out and you see how destructive it is. So it's like once you see it,
that helps to dissipate.
So every time that whole like, I'll show you comes up at me, I'm like, I don't need to show you. I'm not a 7-year-old trying to be on the boys' cricket team. I'm okay. I don't need to show you anything. So let's dissolve that. And that's just,
great example. So when that belief was formed, you had a reference point for that, right? And so your filter, I call it, or your how you view the world, will see evidence of that over and over and over again, which strengthens it over and over and over again. And that's why these patterns or these beliefs that we often have, again, we're super unconscious to them. And And we will be able to give a bucket load of evidence to the truth of those.
Yeah.
But it's when we really step back, and in the context of, often this happens in coaching, that we're able to demyth them. Yeah. So, which is what you've just described. You can see that actually you don't have to constantly prove yourself in order to X whatever you're getting out of that scenario.
So for business owners, you would very much say, and this is something that without them knowing can be holding them back in
100%
making their business successful, but also creating a business that they align with.
Yeah. Look, I mean, let's acknowledge that, every single area of our life, we will have beliefs, fears, doubts, stories that we created back here that would be having an impact.
Yeah.
Not to make it all sound bad, but in the context of business, of course, we're going to have, beliefs that are going to not necessarily lead us to operate in the behavior.
Yeah.
Classic one is, the reality is business these days, we need to have a personal brand. You know this. We need a brand. We need a personal brand. A brand where the founder is not part front and center is harder to relate to. We love to relate
the person behind the brand
to people behind the business. Yeah.
Businesses there that have that launch and they don't have the founder behind the brand, and I see them struggling.
Yeah.
And I was like, because there's no connection.
Yeah.
Like you can throw Google ads and meta ads and SEO and all the things at it, and it'll work, it'll function. But the ones that I see like skyrocketing, that might not even be the founder, but there's something behind it.
So for most people that I work with, which is service-based businesses, it's crucial, right?
Yeah.
And so if we have any kind of fears or beliefs around that, we can't be seen, or it's not safe to be seen, we're going to be judged, that can be a really common block for people getting up and doing their social media, for being the face of their brand. Yeah. And when I say, that there was parts of my story that were absolute barriers and blocks to me owning a business, mine was all around money. The idea of running a business and the risk around that was so just impossible according to my narrative of needing security and financial safety, and that being so important. So I had to work on that in order for me to even start a business.
Yeah.
So
did that stop you from in the beginning stages from actually taking risks in your business?
Look, it still comes up at times. I would say, there was a little bit of work and then I was able to take another step. Then there was more work required to work on that piece and then another step. So there are certain patterns, beliefs, fears that we've been carrying around and constantly finding evidence to, reaffirm them. For my example, I'm now 40, 35 years when I started the business, or no, 37, can't remember. But we're talking about a long time that we've had these.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'll also add that, every single stage of business, there's new levels of money stories that you're going to deal with, because there's more skin in the game.
Yeah.
You do need to invest more at different stages. I've made significant investments in my business, and I can actually physically feel when I know the body is like having a reaction, and it's one that I need to lean into, or one that it's actually, no, this is not the one to take. So I've become so familiar with how my body and mind work that I can really gauge, is this an edge that I need to move through because this is about that next stage of growth, or is it something I need to step away from?
Right angle.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's we talk about intuition as business owners, and then people are like, no, it's not intuition, it's all about the numbers. But a lot of businesses I know, it is the intuition. And the money one, the investment one, is there's a fine line between, okay, I'm about to make a big investment in this, and it's pretty normal to feel that feeling of, and I always say, describe it as it's my body trying to protect me and be like, no, we're safe here, we're safe, don't go anywhere. And I'm like, do I push through this because, out of my comfort zone, or is it my body saying, this is a mistake? And it's just so fine. So, and I think that's something you can't even give advice to. That's something that you really need to just know yourself and align yourself with that.
Well, also having someone guide you through those stages.
Asking the right questions.
Asking the right questions, coming back to, there's an element of let's look at the data. Let's look at where you're at. Where's the business going? What's the vision? What are we working towards?
Is this the right investment right now?
Correct. There's absolutely practical discussion and the quality questions we need to ask to gather data to help us then also use that intuition and use that wisdom in the body.
Yeah.
And that to me, I guess, beautifully summarizes the two parts of my business, which is the mindset work and business strategy. To me, they're both required.
Yeah.
And I couldn't do business without utilizing both.
It just doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
If you just did it from the business point and the numbers, you don't know what that's doing to you internally over time. Like, you would have seen business owners, I've seen business owners that they're burning out, they're stressed, they're not like aligned, but then they're following the business, the numbers, and these are people that haven't done the deeper work yet or haven't done the mindset work. And then there's the other side where people who are like fully mindset and the deeper work, but they don't even do the business and so the alignment of what you do and how we work as business owners, I think, is beautiful. Like, I don't know if it's talked about enough. Like, but that's why you're on the podcast. So what internal work, if you are a business owner and you're listening to this podcast and you're thinking, what is this world that I would like to, what is Pandora's box? What is the first internal work that you could suggest to people to open up this space?
This is going to sound really boring, but I'm going to go back to the first thing I do with every single person I talk to, which is go and ask questions. Like actually taking a moment to stop and work out if I was going to do it, because internal work is really broad,
Huge.
So it might not even be a problem. But if you're feeling like there's parts of the business that aren't working for you, there's not flow, or you're feeling like there's conflict between running your business and other areas of your life, let's work out and get really clear on what are the actual challenges for you as an individual. So every single person I talk to, I say it's a half an hour conversation. It generally blows out to 45 minutes to an hour because I just ask a lot of questions. And I would say 99% of the time, that woman in that meeting with me or person goes, I already see.
Yeah, you already know it. You're just putting a block up. You can sometimes...
Or just operating in the doing, they haven't actually stopped to actually reflect and go, okay, well, what isn't working for me? So we've got to ask and we've got to get to the core of what's actually your current reality versus what you would like it to be. And then from there, we work out, well, what are from my perspective, what are the tools or the practices or behaviors that I can help this person access in order to start building a new reality for themselves.
So you working with a lot of women founders that are growing, scaling businesses. What is something that a lot of women coming to you or working with you or that you see in the world is not often talked about?
So there's a common value / need with, I reckon, 99% of the women I work with, and that is they value growth.
Yeah.
And
they don't talk about it.
Well, I think it's spoken about, but I'm going to talk about the reality of growth, which we experience, but we don't talk about.
Okay.
So growth inherently means change. And change...
I swear to just see growth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And inherently as human beings, going back to that, the part of the mindset we're talking about, we actually don't love change. So our level of resilience to change is different for every person. My level of resilience to change in past life was, before divorce was very, very low. My tolerance for change was really low because it was uncertain.
Yeah.
Whereas my tolerance for change and growth now is a lot higher because I've taken care of the nervous system that, needed security and I don't need it as much anymore. But change, part of us doesn't love it. Part of us does. It's messy. It's going to mean literal changes that you need to make in your life, and that can be really difficult. And also along the stage of growth, there can be these stages where we actually have to slow down before we speed up.
Yeah.
We actually have to stop and get into the messiness. We have to bring awareness to what's actually stopping us from having the growth we want.
So pull it all apart. and then look at all the pieces, kind of fix them individually and put it all back together.
To a degree.
And that takes time, and that's just like one of the stops.
Yeah, on the growth
We're just going to hang
journey.
out here a while.
Yeah.
Do a whole bunch of ontological work and then move forward.
Yeah. And I talk about the messy middle in growth, you know, like it can feel really messy. But would I change it at all? And would the women I work with change it? Not at all, because on the other side of the messy middle is a next stage of growth, evolution, experience. You know, the first time that you get out and you do a live, it's not going to be great. It's going to be messy but it could be something that you say in that live that someone DMs you about and goes, oh my God, that really spoke to me today. And so what that person then gets is like the most amazing feeling about this service and contribution that they've made.
Yeah.
And service and contribution is a really high level of importance for the people that I work with. So, you know, an example of another client, there was a really challenging scenario that she was feeling like she needed to hide away from, not speak about. It was quite public. And through coaching, we realized that actually her leaning into her strengths and her value around authenticity was to actually go on and address it.
Yeah.
And address it on social media. Yeah. And the flooding of support and love and encouragement that she got off the other side of it. But it was also this moment in time where she really spoke to the values of the business and the values of her and what they're here for. Mm. So it wasn't just the fact that she got this love and support around something she was feeling really uncomfortable. It really was one of those poignant times where, you know, again, she had the opportunity to really present the brand, and, you know, that brand has continued to grow through really through strength and strength, because she keeps coming back to really be true in her voice when she gets online. And that authentic piece is felt continually. So that was a version of the messy middle where it was really uncomfortable, but on the other side of it, the growth and that she had personally, but also the business growth professionally was there as a result.
Yeah. And I guess sometimes it's so much easier to be vanilla and in a way that, like, everyone's friend, to be Switzerland, be vanilla, just be like, hey, we're all good. But that never cuts, your business never cuts through.
Correct.
Yeah. I always call it the storm. So, growing up and sailing and stuff, it taught me, it was when I was 10 and we headed down to the storm, and it was for 3 days. And it was a nightmare. Like, we were bunkered down the boat, and my parents were like, we need to turn back. We need to get back to South Africa. And my mum was like, no, there's nowhere to go back to. Like, we've sold everything. We have to go through a storm. Like, there's no turning back. And by the time we got past the storm, we had this like beautiful 2 weeks of sailing. When the next storm came, it wasn't as scary. To my parents, that was the first storm they ever went through. And they were like, we know what to expect. We know how to handle it. And then when COVID hit, that first lockdown, it came back to me. I was like, this is the first storm. And I think I put a post out there saying, like, this is like a storm. And I, for some reason, knew that there would be another lockdown. I just intuitively knew that this was just one. Yeah. And the first lockdown prepared us all. The second lockdown, we were like, we know what to expect. We know how to get through this. And it's the same with business. Like, you go through that messy middle, and every messy middle is a completely different stage in your business. Yeah. But once you get through that first one, you come out and you think, you go into the second one, you're like, it's okay. I know this is, I know what it is for right now. Do what you need to do. Push through those comfort zones. Yeah. Because when you get out, we know that you're at that, like, next step. Yeah. So I love that analogies.
And what really supports us through those storms is the couple of things we've touched on. Having support. Yeah. And then a fellow community support as well. So, ideally one-on-one support, because then you can really, you get support in the moment, you work through it, and you can fast track through the growth, the messy middle quicker. But also then that importance of actually having the business community as well, because guess what? You're not the only one.
People would have been through
They've been
same
through
messy
it.
middle.
Yeah, or even if it's not the same, they've had the same human experience through that, which is the doubt, the self, disbelief, the fears, the same human experience. And that's what connects us and binds us, and we feel less alone through the experience. And it helps us propel through those messy middles and through growth and, on to the next stage of growth.
Yeah. We were people in the end, and this being a business owner, it can feel lonely, but it doesn't have to be.
Correct.
And if somebody else has gone through it, whatever business you have, it's not the only business in the world that's done that. And there is somebody always ahead of you. So if there is a community that you can learn from, you can save yourself a lot of time and stress and anxiety and learn from them. So, how do you, working with a lot of people, you run this networking group, and we haven't even touched on about your amazing award, which I'm going to end on. You put out so much energy. How do you protect your energy and while still being able to hold space for other people?
So I think any service-based business would really benefit from that conversation, because any service-based business, we are exchanging our time, exchanging our energy. And I like to work really closely with my clients. So what I've had to really continue to ask myself the questions and check in is, where is my sweet spot? How much is the good amount of the work that I do plus the balance in terms of what I need to provide for my children and myself. And then really in terms of what do I actually practically do is continually to check in with this. If I'm noticing my patterns of anxiousness or my, past patterns where I'm not coping and I'm needing to have control, then that's a signal that I need to actually work out what I need. There's a lot of time in nature. My early mornings and my morning practice is absolutely still, I think we're 9 years on now. It's an essential part of me being able to show up.
Yeah.
And then there's just really, other small things like recognizing that at times when I have weekends that I'm very social, but I will really say no to a lot of commitments at times, because I know how much recharging my own space and energy is important. Yeah. So this comes back to boundaries. It comes back to really knowing what's important to me, really recognizing how much I have at any one time, and that is supported by that morning practice. Yep. I can answer those questions a lot more when I actually take the space and time out. And we often think that needs to take a lot of time, but I promise you the more you do it, it doesn't actually have to take that long. Yeah. I can sit in the car, I can really just take, a couple of deep breaths and, ask myself some questions. Is this what I need today? Or is this what I need today? Or what next? You always get an answer.
Yeah.
But then you got to trust that and take the action.
Yeah. Yes. And the word boundaries comes into place as business owners. We, especially service-based businesses, we have so many commitments to our clients, and sometimes life comes into play. And that's a lot of the time as mum where the stress kind of comes in.
Yeah.
And sometimes they just sit there and be like, what is the top priority? And if it means a life thing, it's okay to let your clients know, I have something to deal with right now.
Yeah.
I think as an experienced mum, I think I've put work in front of family and kids in the past, and that the aftermath of that, it kind of blows up. So it's okay to be pausing this job a half day, got to go deal with some life right now.
Yeah.
That's okay.
Yeah.
That's, looking after you.
And most of the time, a client, customer, they're going to be really receptive to those types of communication.
Yeah.
And, and then structurally, maybe we're actually not protecting our time all that well. So we can actually, again, re-look at the business, re-look at how we've set it up. And maybe there's an introduction of, clearer guidelines of when we will get jobs completed. Really clear communication that we can give to our clients or people that let them know that actually this is the way we operate here. This is how we do business here. And then that supports how we want to do our life. So it comes back to, again, we've noticed that something's not in alignment. We look at what isn't, and then we look at, okay, what might we need to change in the context of our lives for you to not be in that situation, regularly.
Yeah. And
not feel like
that change.
Correct. And not be feeling like, oh, I'm letting my client down, right? If we actually redesign the business to say, hey, this is how we work, this is how we get back to you, this is the setup, then that's another example of where we've redesigned the business based on what this stage of life looks like for you.
Yeah. All right. So through everything that you've created, and it's been, a compact sort of 5 years, taking
Actually less.
Yeah, even less. It's amazing. It's amazing what happens when you're on your flow and you're like, this is what I'm meant to do. Like you just, And I know that business owners out there that are listening to this, they're like, yes, like the last 2 years, I'm like, whew. Then they reach their cap. But get on that flow. So the last few years, you have brought in amazing business experience from corporate, done so much work on yourself. And I know, personally, so I know you're continuously doing this.
Yeah.
You have recently just come back from the UK and you have won an amazing award, the Women's Changing the World Global Award.
Yeah.
It is incredible. Like,
thank you.
Tell me about this award.
Yeah.
What does it mean?
Yeah. Look, it was an absolutely unbelievable experience. To be nominated, I got an email that I thought was spam.
Oh my gosh, so it wasn't even something you applied for?
No, so I was nominated
I would have totally just like delete spam.
Yeah. So
gosh.
Got the email, I think I may have deleted it, and then a few days later, a week later, I got another email and I thought, oh, this is interesting. Maybe I should look into this. Yeah. So it was the Women Changing the World Global Awards, and I ended up winning the Emerging Entrepreneur of the Year. So it was a whirlwind experience to, one, realise that you're a finalist, which was amazing, and then to decide to head to London as I was supported by, friends and family to help me get there. But I generally had to work through a fair bit of my own doubt through that process as well.
Accept an award.
Yeah, it was really interesting. And I guess it really reminded me again that new level, new devil at different stages in your business. There's going to be some
new level, new
devil. It's a good one. There are going to be new challenges that arise. And sometimes it's just that old, pattern that you've already dealt with is showing back up again to be met in order for you to navigate a new level of that in order to get to that next point. Mm-hmm. So it was incredible to be there, to go for the experience, number one. And then when you're there, when I was there, realising or getting announced as the winner. And for me, given the importance of community and business community, it felt so important that they share that story. And so I've been able to come back, share the journey and what it took to get there, what it means to me, which is, ultimately entrepreneurship is multiple businesses, multiple income streams is kind of one of the descriptions.
Yeah.
But fundamentally for me, it's recognizing that you've dug deep and you've worked with a lot of stuff in order to take the risk.
Yeah.
And there are so many of us doing that, particularly in Australia. We have so much small business. And so I've really kept sharing this message around, what it takes and that, when there's those hard times, just recognize those hard times are actually creating another new foundation to work through in order for you to keep taking risks, keep being brave, keep being courageous. So the award for me is not just for me, it's a representation of every woman that has navigated some really challenging stuff to step out in the world and say, I'm going to bring something to the world. And choosing not to conform, but ultimately, be brave and jump into the risk that is bringing a vision to life.
Yeah. So if your vision was fully realised, what would the future look like?
Oh, so many things. Look, as we started with, storytelling and connection creating is one of the most important things to me. And I know that the more we share our story, the more we have platforms like this, that impact and reach. If we go right back, what made a difference to me when I was in a really challenging place was a podcast and meditation. So more speaking opportunities, more places where we bring women together and support women to grow through their business.
Yeah.
One-on-one coaching I absolutely adore. I love it. It will always be part of my business model. And I also know the power that the group container has.
Yeah.
So I'm running my first retreat overseas this year. I've run retreats in the past, but this is the first one overseas, and this is bringing women that are really ready to really fully realize their legacy and the vision of their business. And vision really it's our guiding point for every decision that we make. So, you can be sure to see more retreats, more offerings, but definitely at some stage, I think that there might be a place where the full story of, what my childhood looked like and how I've navigated that, because I know that, there's so many people that have been through experiences like that before. And I'm very incredibly lucky that I've had the experience that I've had to be able to navigate that and transmute it into something else.
Yeah.
And today we're still no closer to resolving or reducing family domestic violence.
Yeah.
So at one point, I know I'll keep contributing to that mission as well.
Okay. Well, thank you so much. I honestly could talk to you for hours. There's so much insight we have. I reckon I'm going to get you on the podcast again to go into like another deep level of something else. But for all the people listening to this podcast, Mira is just so insightful into how to be a business owner that, you can align yourself with your business. It's internal. You are in a way connected to it. Like, it's not business in you. Like, it's part of you. It's part of your legacy. It's part of what you're doing to the world, the community, what you're offering. And you have to take care of yourself, because if you don't take care of yourself first, you're not going to be able to give as much. Like, your business isn't going to be able to like have as much value to this world. So you can get hold of Mira. There will be details in the show notes. And
thank you
so much again.
You're welcome.
Coming onto the podcast. I am Justine from Malone Studio, and we're here with Mira Claudia.